Donald Trump has issued a pardon for conservative activist and conspiracy theorist Dinesh D'Souza. This was an individual who pleaded guilty to making campaign donations unlawfully. So let me give you the details. First, it all begun with Donald Trump tweeting the following: "We'll be giving full pardon to Dinesh D'Souza today. He was treated very unfairly by our government." Now again, please keep in mind that Dinesh D'Souza himself pleaded guilty to unlawful campaign donations. Donald Trump also said, "I've always felt he was very unfairly treated, and a lot of people did. What they did to him was horrible." And of course, Dinesh D'Souza responded favorably to this news with a tweet that read as follows: "Karma is a bitch." And then he specifically went after the prosecutor who had prosecuted him, Preet Bharara, wanted to destroy a fellow Indian American to advance his career. Then he got fired, and I got pardoned.
Okay, so let's stop and talk about that in a couple different ways. Why does it make any difference if he's an Indian American and you're an Indian American? Like, what do you want to bring race into this? That's weird. I thought you guys hated talk about race, but all of a sudden you made it racial for like no reason at all. Second of all, yeah, Trump fired him so that he wouldn't investigate his law breaking. It's not like a thing to brag about, right? And Trump had told him, no, I'm gonna keep you on. And then he's like, oh, you're looking into my crimes. No, I got to obstruct justice, you're fired, right? So congratulations on that. And second of all, you got pardoned for what? I mean, you funneled 20,000. First of all, let's talk about how stupid Dinesh D'Souza is. It's so easy to bribe our politicians. You could do it legally through dark money, independent expenditures, campaign donations in 1,000 different ways. You could funnel millions of dollars to them. Just ask any of your right-wing donor friends, Sheldon Adelson, Koch brothers, etc. But you were the only one monumentally stupid enough to actually go, okay, I'll break the law. I'll just have that guy give him money, even though I'm the one giving it to him, and I'll. Like, that's the one thing you can't do, you moron. And here's how I know, but no. Okay, but like, it's very important that the audience understands that he's a convicted felon.
Well, that's why I wanted to jump in very quickly, Cenk, because I want you to hear from Dinesh D'Souza himself as he pleaded guilty to this. He said the following: "I'm sorry for what I did. I have never said otherwise. I have never even said I am being selectively prosecuted. I feared that I was being." Okay, and yes, Cenk is absolutely right. He used straw donations. He would essentially go up to people and tell them, hey, make this donation, obviously on my behalf, but I can't make it under my name, and then I will reimburse you for that campaign donation. That is illegal, and he confessed to it.
So now part of the reason for the pardon is that Donald Trump is a criminal, and a lot of the people that he's associated with are criminals. And one of the crimes that they are likely to face is campaign finance violations. So what he's doing is he's going around pardoning everybody that has a similar crime to the ones that his cronies have either committed and have been charged with, or have committed and are about to be charged with. So he's like, oh, campaign finance violations, we're gonna be charged with that. Who's a conservative hack who did a campaign finance violation? Oh, Dinesh, perfect, okay. Dinesh, even though you admit you did it, you pled guilty, you were convicted, you went 8 months. By the way, this is how it works for powerful people, and this is how much kids' gloves we have for Republicans. He 8 months in prison, but he got to leave during the daytime. You remember when you did something deeply illegal and you went to prison, and they would say, oh no, you can leave it during the day, and you just have to come here and sleep in a minimum security prison. No, you didn't get that treatment, right? But if you're connected politically like Dinesh D'Souza and you keep crying and crying and crying, oh, all I did was break the law. And so they said, under the guise of having a job, which is to be a corporate lackey for the Republican donors and just be like, oh, okay, my job is to attack Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama and say racial things about Obama because I'm brown and I get to say that. Yes, now I brought race into it because that's what you are. Dance for them, Dinesh, dance, okay? And so he got to go out during the day and had to sleep at night. But yeah, he got an 8-month prison sentence because he's a convicted criminal. So Trump pardons him because he's like, well, my guys are also did the same crimes. So when I pardon them, I'll get to say, it has nothing to do with Michael Cohen or any of my other lawyers and administration officials and campaign officials. I pardon every convicted criminal who's done campaign finance violations. Look at Dinesh D'Souza. He's among the worst criminals we have in campaign finance, and I pardon him.
Right. So it does appear that Trump is sending a strong message in regard to the amount of power he has. He does essentially have unmitigated power in terms of pardoning people, offering clemency, and he is sending what appears to be a strong message to people who could testify against him if they accept a plea deal under, the special counsel's investigation into Russian meddling and obstruction of justice. And so, if you want to make sure that someone like Michael Cohen or Paul Manafort avoid saying anything that could incriminate you during this investigation, one of the best ways to do that is to message to them, hey, don't take some sort of deal. Don't offer any information, because even if you do get convicted and even if you do face significant prison time, I could pardon you. I have that kind of power. Now, by the way, I want to be clear about some other components to Dinesh D'Souza's crime and these campaign finance issues, because there was a story that came out recently in regard to Rosie O'Donnell. She is being accused of donating too much money to Democratic politicians. That is being investigated. She is saying that she donated that money through Act Blue, and that she didn't know she was giving too much. And by the way, it was nothing like what Dinesh D'Souza did. Dinesh D'Souza knowingly, wittingly broke these campaign finance laws. And in order to be convicted of crimes like this, criminal prosecutions under federal election law require proof that a defendant willfully broke the law, meaning that he or she knew what she was doing was illegal, right? So the reason why I bring up Rosie O'Donnell is because what you have to do is prove that she knew she was breaking the law. Dinesh D'Souza confessed that he was breaking the law, and in the act of doing what he was doing, he went and looked for straw donors. Straw donors, basically letting people know, hey, there's a limit to how much I can donate, so why don't you donate on my behalf and I will reimburse you.
That shows intent. That shows that he knew that he was breaking the law. Whereas O'Donnell said, look, I thought if you went above the amount, I didn't know what the amount was, but and by the way, that might not be a good defense, and I'm not defending anyone who's doing that. But if you go above the amount, I thought they just give you the money back because they have to by law. So she didn't go and do a criminal conspiracy like Dinesh D'Souza. Now, he was not convicted on conspiracy. He was convicted on just being a regular old felon who likes to do campaign finance violations. So let's talk about what Dinesh D'Souza is, okay? And so this guy's arguably a lunatic, but I don't think so. I think he's just mainly a dancer for Republican donors. And so what does he do? He has said that Obama has rage because he is anti-colonialist. First of all, being anti-colonialist, that's a bad thing.
To Republicans, yes.
Yeah, so you want to be pro-colonialist. You want to take people and crush them and steal their resources, and you think that's a good thing. By the way, they did that to India. You brought India into this, right? UK did that to India. Britain did, the empire did. And I guess yeah, you crushed Indian people and murdered them and took their money. Pro-colonialism. That's what they have you, that's what they're paying you to do, Dinesh. Dance for them, boy. Dance for them, okay? Then he does a documentary called The Root of Obama's Rage. Now, look, if you're a regular MAGA guy and you're stupid and you don't know anything about history and you're like, oh yeah, what's the big deal? He's an angry black man. How? Okay, I get it, you're stupid. Dinesh D'Souza went to Dartmouth. You don't think he knows what racist tropes are? You don't think he knows about stereotypes? The angry black man, so he does a whole movie called The Root of Obama's Rage?
I don't think I've ever seen Obama angry. This is the first time I've thought about it, but
Obama's rage? I wish he would have rage.
I felt like, but okay.
Obama rage. It's to smear him as an angry black man. I did a story back in the 2012 election about how a Republican donor needed a darker skinned guy to attack Obama so that they wouldn't get called racist. Dance for them, Dinesh, dance for them. He went to Dartmouth, he knows that's a racist trope. He did a whole movie about it. Then he insinuates that Michelle Obama's a man. Then he talks about how Charlottesville might have been staged.
Yep.
He does a conspiracy theory about Las Vegas, the shooter, how he was an anti-Trump guy. And the conspiracies go on. He does the same anti-Semitic attacks against George Soros that Roseanne Barr just got in massive trouble for, right? So, and to me, look, Trump, I get it, I get Trump. Trump's a criminal and all of his cronies are criminals And so he's pardoning criminals so that eventually when he pardons his cronies, it doesn't seem as weird, as unprecedented, right? I get his motivations. But in terms of Dinesh, and I like, are you proud? And then you go to Ted Cruz, and let's talk about his motivations and all the Republicans. So you guys, because Ted Cruz applauded this today. Oh yes, proud American Dinesh D'Souza. I mean, I'm a Latino, I attack fellow Latinos. Dinesh, attack brown people, go, yes, yes, yes. Conspiracy theories, attacking George Soros, saying that he collaborated with the Holocaust. Yes, yes, do it, right, Ted Cruz, right? You see, look, the mainstream media, these people are not honest actors. They're terrible people. And they lie and they smear, and yes, they do whole movies based on racism. And then he tweets about how you can't make the ghetto out of the boy about Obama.
Yeah, actually, we have that tweet for you.
Okay?
Yeah.
You can take the boy out of the ghetto, watch this vulgar man show his stuff while America cowers in embarrassment. Because he took a selfie. Because he took a selfie. You can get boy out of the ghetto. Dance for them, Dinesh. Dance for them. You pathetic little sniveling piece of crap. So you want to go attack other minorities so they pay you? That's what you do. Then you do conspiracy theories and you do this insane stuff. And the Republican Party, which has lost its mind on a grand scale, goes, bravo, Dinesh. Bravo. Yes, let the criminal go. This is the Republican Party. The mainstream media doesn't tell you that because they've been taught, be neutral, be neutral. It could be Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz could be right. Maybe a convicted criminal is awesome. Maybe campaign finance violations are awesome. Maybe racism is great. Maybe insane Alex Jones-like conspiracy theories are wonderful. Ted Cruz also talked about how we were going to be stuffed into hobbit homes by the UN. It was on his website. They've all lost their minds. And we're having a conversation like it's 50-50. Well, it could be that there's hobbit homes and etc. Or it could be that truth is the answer. I don't know, let's call it even. Oh, I don't want to offend Republicans. They're special little snowflakes. You don't want to offend them. They'll get triggered. They'll get triggered. Well, and the audience, I need the ratings. Republicans, don't leave me, okay? I'll tell you pretty little lies about how your leaders are not lunatics, are not racist, are not serial pathological liars. But they are.
Well, what I believe the right wing is incredibly successful in doing is spreading this false narrative that the media is too liberal and is constantly on this witch hunt against them. And unfortunately, what I see, this is again my take, the media tries to prove that it's not by catering to them and giving them a platform, even if they're convicted felons, giving them a platform and treating them as if they're legitimate and respectable people who should be heard. And I think that it's incredibly important to really lay things out as they are, right? So the Rosie O'Donnell story is fine. I think it's okay to report on that, but you're not going to hear people on the left tear apart the media for reporting that story and accuse the media of being right-wing hacks.
I'm so sick of the media and their stupid, ridiculous neutrality. If you put lies and truth on the same footing, you have given an incentive to lie, you have given an incentive to cheat, and you have destroyed any effort at real journalism where you tell the audience what actually happened. And it has created this, a Republican Party filled with pathological liars whose job is to deceive you, and then because they know it doesn't matter, the media is gonna call it even. Watch, CNN will get on there and call it even. And so there should be incredible outrage over this, and there won't be, it'll be another day, and then everybody will move on, and then when Donald Trump tries to pardon his cronies, it'll be just, oh, well, we're a slowly boiling frog on our way to fascism, so okay, I guess that happened. And so then when he fires the prosecutors, well, I guess that happened, let's call it even, okay? Hey, did I mention Dinesh? I don't see you dancing. Dance, boy, dance. 2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below, then you're a TYT subscriber. And second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.